Hey everybody, it's DM Gallibond, and we are here for Lore Friday on May 21st, 2021. This is our continuing series on examining the adventures that are part of the Candlekeep Mysteries sourcebook that was released in March of 2021. Today we are looking at the 6th level adventure out of that series of adventures called Book of Cylinders. All right, the theme of this adventure is to solve the mystery of missing food shipments from a longtime supplier. And this particular adventure is aimed at characters in Tier 2 or Level 6. Now, the setting for this particular adventure switches between Candlekeep Library, where it begins, and then most of the action happens in a village of Gripply, which is a type of frog folk. And these Gripply live about 90 miles north of Candlekeep, right on the Sword Coast. So right on the edge of the water in the village. Little teaser for this particular adventure is one of the Avowed approaches the party with a request to restore the regular shipments of succulent crab meat from a longtime supplier for Candlekeep. Now we look at kind of taking a step back and look at the backstory for this adventure. 15 years earlier, the Book of Cylinders was brought to Candlekeep from a village of frog folk called the Gripply. The Gripply supply Candlekeep with crab meat from giant crabs that they raise in a farm-style aquaculture area just offshore from their village. The book was said not to be a story about something that happened, but to be a prophecy about a future threat to the village. Well, now the crab meat shipments have stopped, and the Avowed fear that the foretold disaster is befalling the village. So the PCs are implored to help save the Gripply and restore the shipments of crab meat to Candlekeep. Here's a little brief synopsis of this. PCs are offered 500 gold pieces each to go and help the Gripply. They are shown how to read and interpret the cylinders that are in the book, and they realize that the threat foretold is about enemies invading the village. Not just any enemies, but serpent folk enemies. Now, there's a ship captain that normally hauls crab meat to Candlekeep, and he offers to take the PCs to a trading post near the village where they can speak with the exiled Gripply leader. The form that this book takes is really interesting. The book is not so much a book written on pages, but a container that looks like a book. And when the PCs open it, there are 3 wooden cylinders in there that have carvings on them. And if you want to think of a real-world example for the cylinders, think of very miniature versions of those cylinders that you might find in like Tibetan monastery temples, where they're like prayer cylinders that have all kinds of little designs and writing or pictographs on the outside that the faithful will will spin and will touch certain areas of it during their prayers and meditations. So these look kind of like miniature versions of that, but the cylinders are designed to be rolled out on clay, and when they do, they're kind of like mirror images of the writing, so it reveals script that's kind of like an ancient dwarven script that tells the story about the village coming under attack and the threat that means to the village. The commerce from the Froglock village or Frogfolk village, I'm sorry, they're not Froglocks, I'm mixing my IPs there. Commerce from the Frogfolk village has dried up, and refugees at a nearby trading post say that serpent folk have invaded the village and are killing other frog folk and, worst of all, eating the frog folk's eggs. So the PCs have 2 choices. They can travel by sea with a ship captain that is there at Candlekeep, or they can travel by land. Now, the sea route is faster and it's safer. The land route winds up going out of your way, and then it's suggested that you throw random encounters along the way. Because of the speed of the sea route, there's no random encounters required if you go by the ship or if the PCs choose to go by the ship. When they arrive at the trading post and they talk to the refugees, the PCs learn that there are both good and evil yuan-ti in the village. It seems that the good yuan-ti arrived peacefully a couple of months ago, and they have been helping the Gripply, these frog folk, excavate an old temple that the good yuan-ti believe has significance to both of their races. But the evil yuan-ti invaded more recently, and they are planning to sacrifice some of the good yuan-ti in order to open a sarcophagus that they found in a temple, and they believe that this sarcophagus contains relics from their evil deity. The PCs have to go to the village, and obviously in the village they're going to encounter and have to fight some of the evil yuan-ti, and then they have to go to the temple, and again they're going to find more of the evil yuan-ti, and they've got to fight them there as well. If the fight in the village goes poorly, all of the remaining froglock eggs might be poisoned and destroyed by the evil yuan-ti. And if the fight goes poorly at the temple, some of the good yuan-ti may be sacrificed in a ritual by the evil yuan-ti, and they would be sacrificed to this evil yuan-ti deity called Seth, or Seth, because it's two S's at the beginning. The sarcophagus, when it gets opened, whether it's opened by the ritual or whether the curious PCs wind up opening it, it contains magic items that the evil yuan-ti are trying to recover. When that's kind of an overview of what the adventure is like. Now, obviously, the enemies that you're going to encounter and fight in this are yuan-ti. And if you are familiar with the 5e variations of yuan-ti, there are many different variants of yuan-ti that range all the way from CR1 enemies all the way up to CR7 enemies. So there's a lot of different types of yuan-ti, and you encounter several of them in this particular adventure. The toughest encounter is against 4 yuan-ti. 3 yuan-ti. There is a yuan-ti abomination, which is a CR7 creature, along with 2 other yuan-ti. A yuan-ti Malazan type 1 and a yuan-ti Malazan type 2. And those are both CR3 enemies. The special creatures or items include the Gripply themselves. Now, these are a race of frog folk, and I had not heard of them before, but when I went back and did some research, Gripply appear in D&D all the way back as far as 1st edition. I don't remember ever running across any of these in all of the times that I've played D&D, but obviously they've been around for a while. However, they have never yet been detailed in 5th edition. This is the first appearance for the Gripply in 5e in this particular adventure here. And then there's also 2 special magic items. One is Serpent Scale Armor, which is a magical armor that gives you the protection of Scale Mail, but allows you to have your full dex bonus and doesn't give you the penalty of wearing heavy armor. And then there's a magical sword called Serpent's Fang. Now, my favorite elements of this adventure are the ambiguity of mixing good aligned and evil aligned yuan-ti. Most PCs that have played a lot of D&D, most of the time yuan-ti that you encounter as monsters are all evil. You may occasionally encounter a single yuan-ti NPC that's somebody that you need to deal with. But even then, they're usually kind of evil and in kind of for their own reasons. If you find groups of them, they're usually into all kinds of blood sacrifices and weird stuff like that. It's very rare that you ever find them depicted as good aligned NPCs. So the fact that you have two different groups, one that's good aligned and are allied with the Gripply, although they've been overpowered, and others that are evil that have overpowered both the Frogfolk and the good UNT, is kind of an interesting element in this adventure. An easy homebrew adaptation. This could be something you drop into a campaign that becomes a lead-in to a larger plot that you want to talk about that's related to a conflict between the good and evil UNT. Or it could be related to the activities of a UNT cult that are dedicated to the deity Seth, which is an evil UNT deity. UNT have been around for a long time, so almost everything in this, and as I said, Gripply have been around since first edition, so just about everything in here has appeared in at least one previous edition of D&D. So it would be rather easy to migrate this back to an earlier edition of the game. That is going to do it for our discussion of the Book of Cylinders. Next time, I hesitate to say next week because we had an unexpected break between the last one and this one. But next time we get back to this series, we will be looking at Sarah of Yellowcrest Manor, which is the level 7 adventure from Candlekeep Mysteries. All right. That's going to do it for me. Hey, if you like everything that we're doing here on this channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, click the post notification bell so that you get notified about all the content that we have. We have playlists that include archives of our actual play games that we do on Thursday nights and Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons over on Twitch. And we have Monster Monday archives. Every Monday I do a one mic show live on Twitch that details the history of a specific monster. If you want to see a particular monster, go ahead and leave a comment in one of those on any one of those old archives and tell me what monster you'd like me to talk about. What do you want to know more about? All right. Thank you so much for spending a little time. We hope that we will see you back here soon. Take care, and we will talk to you later. Good night, everybody.